The church was filled with people, but the silence was louder than anything else. Gianna stood at the altar, her white dress flowing perfectly around her, her hands trembling just enough to betray what she was trying to hide. From the outside, she looked like every bride in a fairy tale. But the man standing in front of her didn't look like a groom anymore. Jordan's expression had hardened into something unreadable. There was no warmth left in his eyes. No reassurance. No love. Only distance. The priest's voice carried softly through the air, steady and unaware. And then, Jordan cut him off. He said he couldn't do it. The words landed without warning, slicing clean through the moment. At first, it didn't feel real. The guests didn't react immediately. Even Gianna didn't. It was like the world paused, just long enough for everything to collapse all at once. Then came the whispers. Low, spreading, curious, cruel. Gianna's lips parted slightly, but her voice struggled to follow. She looked at him, searching his face for something. Anything that would tell her this wasn't happening. But what she saw instead made her chest tighten. Finality. He said he wasn't raising another man's child. And just like that, every eye in the room turned to her. The humiliation hit instantly, hot and suffocating. Her fingers loosened around her bouquet. A few petals slipped and fell silently to the floor, unnoticed by everyone but her. She tried to hold herself together, tried to speak, tried to reach him, but Jordan had already taken a step back, and that step said everything. He turned without looking at her again and walked away. Not slowly, not hesitantly, decisively, leaving her behind. At the altar, alone. The memory didn't fade. It didn't soften. It followed her, straight into the night that had started everything. Gianna had always been the kind of woman people noticed, not because she tried to be, but because she couldn't help it. There was something effortless about her presence, a quiet confidence, a warmth that drew people in before they even realized it. She wasn't born into wealth or influence. Her world had always been simple, grounded, real. She worked hard, spoke her mind, and carried herself with a strength that came from knowing exactly who she was. And somehow, that was what caught Jordan's attention. Jordan lived in a completely different world. Power, influence, expectations. Everything about his life was calculated, controlled, and watched. People didn't approach him, they positioned themselves around him. Conversations were never just conversations. Every move meant something. Until Gianna. She was never impressed by his name, never intimidated by his presence. She spoke to him like he was just another man, and for the first time in a long time, that was exactly what he wanted to be. What started as curiosity became something deeper, something neither of them expected. He pursued her with a certainty that surprised even himself. She resisted at first, not because she didn't feel it, but because she did. Their worlds were too different, too complicated, too risky. But Jordan didn't walk away. And eventually, neither did she. Their love didn't make sense to anyone else. Not to the people in his world, who questioned why he would choose someone like her. And not to the people in hers, who couldn't understand how someone like him could be trusted. But somehow, against all of that, it worked. Or at least it felt like it did. Because with Gianna, Jordan wasn't just powerful. He was human. And with Jordan, Gianna allowed herself to believe in something bigger than the life she had always known. Something permanent, something real, something that felt like it could last. There had always been something unspoken between them. Not distance, but restraint. A quiet understanding that some things were worth waiting for. Gianna had never given herself to anyone before, not out of fear, not out of pressure, but because she wanted it to mean something. And with Jordan, it finally did. They had talked about it in small, almost shy conversations. About their wedding night. About how everything would begin there. Not rushed, not forced, but chosen. It wasn't just about intimacy. It was about trust. About giving themselves to each other completely, at the right time, in the way they had both imagined. And for Jordan, that mattered more than he ever admitted out loud. Because in a world where everything around him was calculated and controlled, Gianna was the only thing that felt real. The only thing untouched by expectations. The only thing that was just his. Until the night, everything changed. Gianna had been walking home alone. The street was quiet, almost too quiet, the kind that made every small sound feel louder than it should. Her heels clicked lightly against the pavement, steady at first, then slower as something unsettled crept into her chest. She didn't know why. Not yet. But she felt it. That instinct, the one that whispers before danger shows itself. She glanced behind her. Nothing. Just empty road stretching into darkness. She exhaled, trying to shake it off, and kept walking. That was when she heard it. The sound came again. Closer this time. Before she could react, everything shifted. A hand closed around her arm. Tight. Unyielding. Pulling her back with a force that stole the breath from her lungs. Panic hit instantly, sharp and overwhelming. She struggled, her movements frantic, desperate, but it was no use. The world around her blurred into fragments. Shadows. Movement. A voice. Low. Controlled. Too close to her ear. It said something she couldn't fully hear, or maybe her mind refused to remember it. Her heart pounded violently as fear took over, her strength slipping faster than she could fight it. She tried to hold on to something, anything, but her body wasn't responding the way she needed it to. Everything felt distant, heavy, wrong. The last thing she became aware of was a brief flash, something metallic catching the faint light. A ring, and then darkness. When she woke up, her body didn't feel like hers anymore. There was an unfamiliar heaviness, a lingering ache she couldn't explain but somehow understood. Her mind struggled to piece things together, but the truth settled in slowly, painfully, without needing to be said out loud. Something had been taken from her, something she couldn't get back. And the worst part wasn't just what had happened. It was that she didn't know who had done it. After that night, nothing stayed the same. Not even Jordan. He didn't leave her. That was the strange part. He stayed. He stood beside her in public, defended her when people whispered, made it clear that the wedding would still happen. But something in him had shifted. It wasn't obvious at first. It showed up in small ways. The way he looked at her less. The way his touch became rare, then non-existent. The silence between them stretched longer than it used to. He was there, but he wasn't with her anymore. And Gianna felt it. Every second of it. Then came the moment that broke whatever was left. It happened quietly, without warning. Her body gave out before her mind could prepare for it. When she woke up again, it wasn't darkness this time. It was a hospital room. Bright. Still. Unforgiving. The doctor's words didn't rush. They came gently, carefully, but they still destroyed everything. She was pregnant. The timeline didn't leave room for hope. Didn't leave space for denial. Gianna didn't cry immediately. Not at first. She just stared, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something less real if she gave them enough time. But they didn't. They stayed exactly where they were. Heavy. Permanent. Telling Jordan felt like stepping into something she already knew would break. He didn't shout. Didn't explode. Didn't react the way she expected. He just went still. And that stillness was worse. Because it meant he was thinking. Calculating. Processing something she couldn't see. From that moment on, whatever distance had been between them turned into something solid. Unmovable. And that was how they ended up back at the altar. Not because everything was okay, but because neither of them had truly faced what wasn't. By the time Gianna ran, she wasn't thinking anymore. The wedding dress clung to her as rain poured down, soaking through the fabric, dragging against the ground as she moved without direction, without purpose, without anything left to hold on to. The world around her blurred into lights and shadows and noise that didn't quite reach her anymore. She just kept moving, until she reached the bridge. The water below was dark, endless, almost peaceful in a way that frightened her. For the first time since everything had fallen apart, her thoughts slowed. The pain dulled just enough to feel distant. Manageable. She climbed up slowly, her movements unsteady but determined. There was no hesitation left. No second-guessing. Just silence. She leaned forward, and something snapped her back. A hand. Firm. Unyielding. Pulling her away from the edge before she could disappear.